Parker, write a sports column for ClickOnDetroit.com, which is Channel 4 WDIB's website. Also work for ESPN. I'm on the TV show First and 10, or First Take is the name of the show in the segment. It's First and 10 with Skip Bayless. And those are my two primary jobs.
You know you wanted to be a reporter. That was something there.
When I was 9 years old, that was my dream at 9. Of course, I wanted to be an athlete first, and I wanted to be a baseball player. And so at some point, I was like, well, if I don't make it as a baseball player, what's my backup plan? And it was to be a sports writer. I grew up in New York. I used to read newspapers every day. I love to write. And I just, like I said, if I could take writing and my love of sports and put it together, I could be a sports writer. So that's when I really got the bug to be a reporter.
Okay, so just needless to say, you wrote in high school and in college.
Yep, in high school, I wrote for the school newspaper. I enjoyed it. I even started my own all sports newspaper in high school. And it was kind of a funny story. I wrote letters to different newspapers in New York looking for money for funding. Here I am, a high school kid, writing letters. And Rupert Murdoch, who you all know, who owns Fox and the New York Post and all these other places, he actually sent me a check for $50 to start the newspaper in my high school.
And what about your experience in college? How was that as a writer?
Same thing. My first day on the college campus, I went down to the student newspaper, and I signed up. I wanted to be a sports writer, and I covered everything. I think my first assignment was covering girls field hockey, which I knew very little about. I did my research, and I went out. And before I knew it, I covered everything: football, basketball, and even became the sports editor of the college newspaper. So that was a great experience. I enjoyed seeing my name in print. I love writing. I love covering sports, going to events. One of my big away trips covering an event in college is covering Southern Connecticut State University played Georgetown University in men's basketball. So here I am covering my school against Patrick Ewing and the Georgetown Warriors. It was pretty deep. I still remember.
Now, can you take us through some of the duties in which a reporter does to get ready for writing an article or taking it down? What does a reporter do?
I'll give you my experience as a columnist, basically. And a columnist is different from a general reporter. And then a reporter normally covers a team or an event. And it's pretty an objective thing where you go out and just cover what you see and get feedback from the people who are involved in the game or the event you're covering. As a columnist, it's more of a spin as to what it is you're watching through your eyes and you have a voice. So normally if I cover, say, a Tigers game, I'm going to write a column about the Tigers. I show up to the ballpark 3 hours before the game, so around 4 o'clock for a 7:05 start. You go into the locker room and you talk to the players pre-game. Now when I go to a game, I do a lot of work before I even get to the ballpark. A lot of it has to do with having different story ideas. Before you get there, you just don't show up and wait for something to happen. You try to take a look at storylines. Historically, what does it mean? Say the Tigers are playing the White Sox. Or maybe the White Sox always beat the Tigers in Detroit, so that might be an angle. Or there's a player on the White Sox who used to play for the Tigers. That could be an angle. That doesn't mean because you go in with 3 story ideas that you totally are oblivious as to what happens in front of you. So if something bigger and better happens in front of you, you write that. But you just don't come to the ballpark and write something just because you have to write something. It should be something that's thought out. So basically, you watch the game, you go through the steps of writing during the game and whatnot, and then after the game, you go down again to the locker room or the clubhouse, and you get comments about what it is, and then you have to meet your deadline, which is just about as important as anything in journalism. You always have a deadline, and you have to meet it.
Okay. So, how often do you write?
I write 3 columns a week, but there's other stuff that I write. I write some blogs every day and different things like that. But normally it's 3 columns every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from ClickOnDetroit.com. And it's a lot of fun.
So, like when you're writing, how do you determine how long and how short an article will be? I mean, I know you want to get your point across and what it is that you're trying to say to the audience, but how do you determine how long and how short it is?
Most of the columns are all about the same length, which is anywhere between 650 and 750 words. And in that kind of time span or length, you're able to get your point across. And it's not just about having an opinion, you have to back it up with insight, facts, stats that back up your opinion that make it stronger. Just saying that I don't like a certain player isn't good enough, or another player isn't good or not clutch. You have to be able to back it up and show examples. So there's work that's involved, but you also don't want to make it too long because people aren't into reading really long things unless it's really a dynamic piece that warrants it. But most are 650 to 750 words, and you feel comfortable and you feel like you have enough space to articulate.
Okay. So, what do you think some of the skills in which up and coming people need to invest in to become this?
You gotta know how to write. I mean, that's you gotta learn how to. And reading is very important to writing. You gotta be able to read and read stuff. You know, it's cool to sit there and watch TV and get information that way, but read the newspaper. Go online, go to different sites and read magazines and keep up with current events. That's how you become a better writer, through reading. And then practice your writing. You know, watch something and write about what your experience might be a tribute to, you know, or something like that. Put it down on paper. What did you see? What did you observe? That's part of being a reporter too. Your eyesight. You know, you come into a setting and you see things and you take notes. Also, notes are very important as you go along. You don't want to guess and have to think back to, well, was he wearing a blue shirt or was there 100 people there? But if you have taken notes as to what you have witnessed, then you can write a more accurate and clear description or account of what you're reporting on.
Okay. What are some more fun aspects of your job? What do you get to do that you like to do that really gets fun?
It's traveling. I mean, imagine when I cover baseball in Cincinnati, I cover the Cincinnati Reds. So I traveled spring training in Florida for 7 weeks. I did 81 road games, which included 3 trips to San Francisco and San Diego and LA every year. And I traveled the country. I stayed in the best hotels, ate the best meals. I made everything paid for. It's a great life, especially for a young guy traveling the country. You meet a lot of interested and big time people. I've met so many different people and experienced so many different things. And it really is a nice career and a nice life to travel the country and meet so many different people.
So needless to say, you like your job.
No, I love my job. I don't like it. I love it. The only thing I ever wanted to do, and I've never missed a day of work because I didn't want to go in or I thought I was bored or something.
Okay.
Going to the Super Bowl, going to the World Series, going to baseball games for a living is the best job you can have. And the best part about it is my career is longer than most athletes. They get to play if they're lucky 10 or 12 years. I could have a 40-year career as a sports player.
All right. Now here's a question I've been thinking about. With the decline in sales in newspapers and whatnot, how does that affect your job as a reporter?
That's a good question. It's just changing the medium as to where you're going to get your information. So you might not be getting it from a newspaper, but you're still looking for credible reporters who can work on the internet and write for internet sites. So reporting will never be lost. You still need people to tell stories, to dig for information. So you shouldn't be deterred about being a reporter. It might not be in the traditional sense of writing for a newspaper, but you might be writing for a particular website or things like that. So those skills will never be lost. People will always look for good reporters, people who can gather news, break news stories, and deliver it. They just need a different medium.
Okay. Now that we've reached the end of the question portion, I'd like to open it up, give you a chance to say what it is that kind of got you on the path, what it is that got you going on the path, and what you'd like to say to young and future people that would try to follow the same steps in your footsteps.
I guess I would say it was just my love for sports that really started it. And if you have a passion for sports, and you want to be involved. There's so many different jobs. It's not just, you could be a sports reporter, you could be a broadcaster, GM, you could be run the palace or a facility, or you could be a public relations, you could be a masseuse for a sports team, you could be a team doctor. I mean, there's so many jobs in sports. It's just, if you love sports and love being around it, and the big thing is having a job that you really enjoy. You have to get up every morning and go to a job that you're not happy with. Your life's not going to be happy because your job is so much a part of your life. And when you take on a job that you really enjoy, your life will be a lot happier. And I'm telling you, I've been happy my whole ride in this career because it's all I ever wanted to do, both in the newspaper, on radio, and TV. And just imagine somebody paying you to go on the radio and talk about sports, something that you would do for free and just enjoy talking about sports with your friends. And imagine getting a paycheck for that. And going on television and debating somebody over whether or not Kobe or LeBron is the best player. That's a job? Where do you sign up for that?
Right. Okay. Last little tidbit questions. Being a reporter and being successful as you are, has it opened up other lanes and avenues for you to do other things in which you like to do?
That's a good question, and yes, it has. Because of that, I've written a TV sitcom currently being shopped around to the network, and I've also developed a couple other TV shows. So that writing ability put me in place that I could put down my thoughts as far as branching out into television and different things like that as a writer, as a producer of TV shows. So not just being in front of the camera, but behind it and coming up with your ideas and your thoughts and knowing how to put it down. So it has opened up a lot of different things.
Okay, and with that said, this is a fun question. Anywhere in your staff, are you looking for a recent graduate that has skills in multimedia design as far as, acting, writing, music, production, all of that?
You never know. I mean, as these things go on, to be honest, always looking for talented people, with ideas on how to do websites, music. For 6 years at a show called Sports Rap. We had a lot of guys who came through, guys and girls on the music side, who contributed to the show, and so a lot of people. I'm most proud of, and the thing that I did on that show Sports Rap, I have 5 people who currently are working in television who had never worked for television before they came and worked for my show, and now they're on TV. As sports reporters, as news reporters all over the country, and they use the tape from that show as resume tape, and they were able to land jobs. So that's what I'm proud of. That those people were able to use their experience with me and move forward and get themselves careers.
So how does somebody go about getting some material to have them look at?
They can always go and they can send an email to juniorsample@comcast.net. Junior spelled out JUNIOR, sample SAMPLE @comcast.net.